For many years, Last Man Standing was the kind of show that families looked forward to watching together. Every Friday night, people would sit down, relax, and enjoy the familiar jokes, warm family moments, and characters who felt like people you actually knew. The humor was comforting, the stories were simple but meaningful, and the Baxter family slowly became a part of viewers' lives. It felt like a show that would last for a long time. But then things started to change. One by one, familiar faces began to disappear. Characters were replaced, storylines shifted, and the show no longer felt exactly the same. Fans began asking questions. Why were so many cast members leaving? Was it because of creative disagreements, career choices, or something much deeper behind the scenes? The Real story turned out to be far more surprising than most people expected. After being away from television for several years, Tim Allen made a strong return in 2011 with Last Man Standing. At that point in his career, he did not need to come back to TV. He had already turned down very large offers, including one from CBS that would have paid him $1 million per episode. Still, there was something different about this project. The show's creator, Jack Burdett, had a clear vision for the main character, Mike Baxter. He imagined Mike as an older, wiser version of Tim Allen's famous home improvement character, Tim the Toolman Taylor. At first, Allen was not interested at all. He felt the role was too similar to what he had already done before, and he worried people would only see it as a repeat. He actually said no to the role 3 different times. What finally changed his mind was the amount of creative control he was offered. Instead of just starring in the show, Tim Allen would also be an executive producer. This meant he would have a strong voice in the direction of the show, the tone of the stories, and the kind of topics it would cover. That freedom mattered a lot to him, and it later became very important as the show began to touch on social and political issues. ABC had big hopes for Last Man Standing. They wanted it to feel like a modern version of All in the Family, with a conservative main character whose opinions would often clash with those of his family members. The network placed the show on Friday nights, which is usually a difficult time slot because fewer people watch TV then. They hoped Tim Allen's popularity would bring viewers in, and it did. When the show premiered in October 2011, more than 13 million people tuned in. This made it ABC's biggest comedy debut in many years. From the very beginning, the show performed extremely well, especially among viewers aged 18 to 49. That was impressive for a Friday night show, which usually struggles to attract younger audiences. Over the next 6 seasons, Last Man Standing remained strong, averaging more than 8 million viewers per episode. Because of this success, many people were shocked when ABC cancelled the show in 2017. The surprise grew even bigger when fans looked back and realized that major cast changes had already begun very early in the show's life. One of the first big changes happened after the very first season. Alexandra Krosny originally played Kristen Baxter, the oldest daughter of Mike Baxter. Kristen was a young single mother who had her son, Boyd, when she was only 17 years old. She worked as a waitress and lived with her parents while trying to figure out her future. Viewers connected with her because she felt real. Alexandra Krosny brought a good balance of humor and emotion to the role. Kristen was sarcastic and quick with her words, especially when talking to her father, but she was also caring and vulnerable. Her struggles as a young mom felt honest, and many fans enjoyed her scenes with Tim Allen. Then, suddenly, ABC announced that Alexandra Krosny would not be returning for season 2. The network said it was because of creative differences, but that explanation did not tell the whole story. Behind the scenes, the producers wanted to take Kristen's character in a different direction. Instead of focusing on her as a young, unsure mother still finding her way, they wanted Kristen to seem older, more confident, and more experienced. They believed this would create new story opportunities and allow Kristen to challenge Mike Baxter more strongly on social and political topics. To make that change believable, they decided to recast the role. Another factor had to do with appearances. Even though Kristen was supposed to be the oldest sister, Alexandra Krosny was actually younger than Molly Ephraim, who played Mandy, the middle sister. Some producers felt this made the family dynamic feel slightly off. Amanda Fuller, who was older than both actresses, was chosen to take over the role. When she joined the show, Kristen became more assertive and grounded, which matched the new direction the writers wanted. Around the same time, another character began to evolve in a surprising way. In December 2011, Nick Jonas made a guest appearance as Ryan Fogel's son, Kristen's ex-boyfriend and the father of her son. At the time, Nick Jonas was only 19 years old, and his casting clearly grabbed attention. His appearance aired during a Christmas episode and created a lot of buzz. Ryan was shown as an immature and nervous teenager who had run away from his responsibilities. The show painted him as a careless young guy who got Kristen pregnant and then disappeared. His role was small, and the character was not very developed, but fans noticed him. Things changed when Tim Doyle became the showrunner in Season 2. Doyle wanted Ryan to be more than just a deadbeat dad. He believed the character had potential and could add something meaningful to the show. His plan was to turn Ryan into a smarter, more thoughtful person who could challenge Mike Baxter's strong conservative views. Ryan would become more involved with the Baxter family and take part in deeper conversations about politics, values, and society. This idea fit well with the show's overall theme of different viewpoints clashing within a family. In 2012, the role of Ryan was recast, and Jordan Masterson took over. Known for his role on the show Greek, Masterson brought a completely new energy to the character. His version of Ryan was confident, intelligent, and outspoken. He was no longer just a scared teenager. Instead, he became someone who could hold his own in debates with Mike. This change gave the character much more depth and made him an important part of the show. Over time, Ryan grew even more. He went from being a struggling young father to running his own cannabis business called Buds in later seasons. The show often played this for laughs, especially when Ryan unknowingly began acting like a capitalist, something Mike Baxter found both funny and ironic. Despite these successful character developments and strong ratings, everything came crashing down in May 2017. Fans were stunned when ABC announced it was cancelling Last Man Standing. This was not a struggling show. It was one of the network's most watched comedies, with loyal viewers and consistent numbers. Many people fully expected it to be renewed for another season. The timing of the cancellation made it even more shocking. Just 2 months earlier, Tim Allen had made comments on Jimmy Kimmel Live where he joked that being a conservative in Hollywood felt like living in 1930s Germany. The comment caused controversy, and many people immediately wondered if it played a role in ABC's decision. ABC's president at the time, Channing Dungey, denied that politics had anything to do with the cancellation. She explained that the network was moving away from airing comedies on Friday nights and wanted to focus more on fantasy and science fiction shows. According to her, it was a business decision based on scheduling and long-term plans. Still, for fans and even the cast, the explanation did not feel convincing. The show was performing well, and Friday nights had worked for it for years. The cast did not hide their disappointment. Tim Allen took to social media and said he felt stunned and blindsided. He had believed the show was secure and was clearly hurt by how suddenly it ended. Nancy Travis, who played Mike's wife Vanessa, shared her sadness with fans and thanked them for their loyalty. Hector Elizondo, who played Ed Alzotte, hinted in interviews that politics may have influenced the decision, even if it was never officially admitted. While the older cast members expressed shock and frustration, the younger actors had mixed reactions. Some were sad to see the show end, while others quickly moved on to new projects. Fans, however, were not ready to say goodbye. Many believed the show deserved better, especially after years of strong ratings and consistent storytelling. The cancellation left a bitter feeling, as if something meaningful had been taken away too soon. In the end, the story of Last Man Standing is not just about a sitcom. It is about creative control, changing television trends, behind-the-scenes decisions, and how politics and business can quietly influence entertainment. What started as a warm, family-centered comedy slowly became a symbol of larger debates within Hollywood. The cast changes, recasting choices, and final cancellation all show how complicated the television industry can be, even when a show appears successful on the surface. For many fans, Last Man Standing will always be remembered as a show that felt like home, even if its journey ended in a way no one expected. After the show was cancelled, Molly Ephraim and Caitlin Dever started moving forward with their lives and careers. Like most of the cast, They truly believed Last Man Standing was over for good. No one expected the show to return, so they did what any working actors would do and began looking for new opportunities. While the cast accepted the situation and tried to move on, the fans felt very differently. Viewers were not ready to let go of the Baxter family, and they made their feelings very clear in a way that television networks could not ignore. Almost immediately after the cancellation news broke, fans launched one of the largest Save the Show campaigns television had ever seen. Within just one day, an online petition demanding the return of Last Man Standing collected more than 400,000 signatures. Social media exploded with support. Millions of tweets flooded Twitter using the hashtag #SaveLastManStanding. Fans did not stop there. Some mailed toy tools to ABC's offices as a playful reference to Tim Allen's famous handyman characters. Others went even further and paid for large billboards in major cities like Los Angeles and New York, publicly demanding that the network bring the show back. The movement grew so large that even politicians noticed. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker publicly suggested that the show's cancellation might have been politically motivated, adding even more fuel to the debate. Behind the scenes, however, the real reasons for the cancellation were more complicated than politics alone. ABC was paying nearly $3 million per episode because the show was produced by 20th Century Fox. On top of that, Tim Allen's salary, which was over $200,000 per episode, added significantly to the total cost. For ABC, the show was expensive to keep, even though it performed well in ratings. Once the cancellation became official, Fox executives immediately began shopping the show to other networks. They approached places like CMT and NBC, hoping someone would pick it up. In the end, Fox made a bold decision and chose to revive the show themselves. On May 11, 2018, Fox officially announced that Last Man Standing was coming back. This decision was not made only because of fan pressure, although that played a major role. Fox executives had closely watched how successful ABC's revival of Roseanne had been, pulling in millions of viewers. They saw an opportunity to repeat that success with Last Man Standing. Fox decided to take a major risk and invested around $50 million to bring the show back to life. A few days before the announcement, Tim Allen hinted on Twitter that something big was happening, encouraging fans to keep pushing, which made it clear that a deal was already in progress. Bringing the show back was far from easy. The schedule was extremely tight. Fox announced the revival in May 2018 and planned for the show to premiere in September of the same year. That gave the entire team only a few months to prepare everything. The writers began working on scripts in June, with only about 15 weeks to complete them. Filming started in August at the same studio as before, but there was a major problem. The original set had already been taken apart after the cancellation, so it had to be completely rebuilt. To meet deadlines, the production team filmed 3 episodes every single week, which was an intense and exhausting pace for everyone involved. Later on, the COVID-19 pandemic caused further delays and production pauses, creating even more challenges. Fox also had to spend more money on the revival to keep the quality high. Each episode now cost around $1.1 million to produce, compared to about $800,000 per episode before. Tim Allen's salary increased as well, rising to approximately $235,000 per episode, making him one of the highest-paid actors on television at the time. To help cover these costs, Fox sold streaming rights to platforms like Hulu and CMT for about $1.5 million per episode. The production team also looked for ways to save money, such as filming more efficiently and reducing travel for location shoots. All of that hard work paid off. The first season of Last Man Standing on Fox attracted around 8 million viewers, with the premiere performing especially well. The strong ratings proved that fans were still eager to welcome the Baxter family back into their homes. However, the revival came with its own set of problems, especially when it came to casting. When ABC cancelled Last Man Standing in 2017, Molly Ephraim, who had played Mandy Baxter for 6 seasons, truly believed the show was finished forever. She did not wait around for something that might never happen. Instead, she quickly accepted new roles and committed herself to other projects. By the time Fox revived the show a year later, Molly was already deeply involved in different productions, including Brockmire alongside Hank Azaria and Halt and Catch Fire. Because of these commitments, she could not return to her role as Mandy, even though many fans hoped she would. This led to another major cast change that viewers had to adjust to, reminding everyone once again that even when a show comes back, it is never exactly the same as before. Replacing Molly Ephraim as Mandy Baxter was never going to be easy, and the producers of Last Man Standing knew that very well. They made a clear decision early on that they did not want to find someone who looked similar to Molly Ephraim or tried to imitate her performance. Instead, they wanted an actress who could bring a fresh energy to the role and help the character grow in a new way. After a long search, they chose Molly McCook. She looked very different from Ephraim, but instead of trying to hide that fact, the show decided to openly acknowledge it. They even joked about the change on screen, turning what could have been an awkward transition into something humorous and self-aware. When Molly McCook first appeared as Mandy in Season 7, many fans were not happy. Social media quickly filled with complaints, and the hashtag #NotMyMandy began trending. Viewers were emotionally attached to the original version of Mandy, and seeing a new face was difficult for them to accept. Despite the backlash, McCook stayed focused and confident. She did not try to copy Molly Ephraim's performance. Instead, she made Mandy her own by leaning into the character's love for fashion and her ambition to become a designer. The writers also supported her by giving Mandy deeper and more serious storylines than before. These included Mandy's pregnancy, her fears about becoming a mother, and her evolving relationship with Kyle. Over time, many fans began to change their minds. McCook's emotional scenes, especially those shared with Tim Allen, helped viewers see her version of Mandy as genuine and heartfelt. Her chemistry with the cast improved, and her portrayal added a more mature layer to the character. By the later seasons, it became clear that Molly McCook had earned her place on the show and brought something unique and valuable to the role. Molly Ephraim was not the only cast member who moved on after the original cancellation. Caitlin Dever, who played Eve Baxter, also faced a turning point in her career. After the show ended in 2017, Dever made a bold decision to shift her focus toward film rather than television. This choice quickly paid off. She landed a powerful role in Kathryn Bigelow's film Detroit, which became a major moment in her career and showed a much more serious side of her acting ability. From there, her success grew rapidly. Within the next year and a half, Caitlin Dever starred in Booksmart, a 2019 comedy that received excellent reviews and performed well at the box office. She also took on a leading role in the Netflix miniseries Unbelievable, which proved to be a major breakthrough for her. Her performance was widely praised and earned her Golden Globe and BAFTA nominations. These projects pushed her into the spotlight and made her one of the most sought-after young actresses in Hollywood. Choosing to move on from Last Man Standing turned out to be one of the smartest decisions she could have made for her career. When Fox revived Last Man Standing, things became complicated for Dever. She was no longer able to commit to the show full-time because of her busy schedule. Instead of returning as a regular cast member, she transitioned into a recurring guest role. In Season 7, she appeared in 7 episodes, but by Season 8, that number dropped to just 2. The COVID-19 pandemic made everything even more difficult. Strict quarantine rules required actors to isolate for 2 weeks for each appearance, making scheduling extremely challenging. The production team often had to plan entire episodes around Dever's limited availability. Sometimes, scripts were written specifically to fit into the small windows when she could be on set. By the final season, she appeared in only 3 episodes, including the series finale. Because Eve Baxter was no longer around as often, the writers had to adjust the storylines. They explained her absence by sending Eve to the Air Force Academy, a move that fit her character's strong and disciplined personality. This choice also allowed her occasional appearances to feel more meaningful and emotional. The show also used video calls as a creative way to keep Eve connected to the family even when Caitlin Dever could not physically be there. One particularly memorable episode was written entirely around her limited availability and focused on Eve's relationship with her nieces. This episode helped wrap up several long-running storylines and gave fans a touching moment with her character, despite her reduced presence. Between 2017 and 2021, Dever continued to balance multiple high-profile projects. She starred in Dope Sick alongside Michael Keaton, appeared in the film adaptation of Dear Evan Hansen, and later landed the role of Abby in HBO's The Last of Us Season 2. Her schedule was so demanding that Last Man Standing had to abandon plans for 2 of her episodes in Season 8 because it simply could not be worked out. Even so, Deva remained loyal to the show that helped launch her career and made time to return whenever possible. In May 2020, Fox announced that Last Man Standing would end with its 9th season. This news surprised many fans, especially since the show was still performing very well. It averaged 8.3 million viewers per episode, making it Fox's second highest-rated comedy at the time. The strong ratings made the decision even more confusing. Producer Kevin Abbott later shared that the creative team had already started planning a 10th season. One major idea was to have Kristen Baxter take over Outdoor Man and rename it Outdoor Woman. This storyline would have explored how the family business evolved and how leadership passed to the next generation. The writers also wanted to bring back popular guest stars like Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Richard Conn for special storylines that connected to their earlier appearances. These plans were meant to reward longtime fans and give the show a sense of continuity and nostalgia. As the final season approached, Fox executives wanted to make it a big event. At first, Abbott was unsure. He felt the show worked best when it focused on small, family-centered moments rather than large spectacles. Everything changed when writer John Hauer suggested bringing back Tim the Toolman Taylor from Home Improvement. This idea immediately excited everyone involved. Over the years, the team had discussed other crossover possibilities, such as creating a shared universe that explained what happened to the Taylor family after Home Improvement ended. However, these ideas were always complicated due to legal issues and negotiations between studios. Several creative ideas never made it past the planning stage. One was a Tool Time reunion special that would bring back the entire Home Improvement cast within the Last Man Standing universe. Another idea involved revealing that Mike Baxter was distantly related to Tim Taylor, creating a humorous storyline about their connected family histories. There were even discussions about a Christmas special that would unite cast members from both shows, but scheduling conflicts and legal problems made it impossible. When the team finally committed to bringing Tim Taylor into Last Man Standing, it still wasn't easy. Disney owned the rights to Home Improvement, so negotiations took a long time. Kevin Abbott later revealed that the crossover was not officially approved until just one day before the script reading. At one point, he even threatened to move forward without permission just to keep things moving. Tim Allen had his own conditions as well. He wanted Tim Taylor to be treated with respect and to have a believable reason for appearing in Colorado. The writing team rewrote the episode 3 times to satisfy everyone involved, including the original creators of Home Improvement. Tim Allen prepared carefully for the role by rewatching old episodes to make sure Tim Taylor felt different from Mike Baxter. He wanted viewers to clearly see them as 2 separate characters. The final episode included subtle references to Home Improvement, such as mentions of Wilson and Tool Time, and even explained what happened to Tim Taylor after the original series ended. The crossover became one of the most memorable moments of Last Man Standing's final season, giving fans a satisfying and emotional connection between 2 beloved shows and ending the journey on a meaningful note.